Hey guys, welcome to Monday afternoons with SketchUp. Hope you guys are all doing well. Looks like there's more than one or two potential issues happening right now with less than perfect connections. So we're aware, but I don't know if there's a whole lot we can do about it. I saw Facebook come up and looks like Twitch is up. Still not seeing anything on YouTube, though we do have a lot of people connecting through YouTube, so that's odd. Anyhow, hope everything's going well.
Yeah, little mysteries on our Monday morning here,
Yeah,
Monday noon.
yeah, it's okay. We'll give it another minute or so. Hopefully everything will work out just fine.
So I wonder how many people are contacting us from a snowstorm out east.
Oh, is that what's
Is that
happening?
happening today? I don't know though. I know that there was snow happening somewhere in that general direction.
Well, here in beautiful sunny Colorado, where we boast 360 days of sun a year, it's overcast and supposed to rain all day.
Today's one of those 65 days of unsunny.
That's right. They happen eventually. I don't know. It's also cold. I am definitely not warm today. The goal today, a couple people have asked, the idea today is we are going to do some Q&A stuff. So yeah, so if you have questions and you would like to share them with us, go ahead and throw that question out. If you want to tag it at the beginning, put at SketchUp, then it's easier for Jody to catch, because sometimes that chat, it takes off. We get some chatty people in there.
Well,
Somebody,
and sometimes Aaron takes a long time to answer a question,
I do
and so
talk.
then all of a sudden 5 minutes have passed, and then I try and answer the question, and
It's true.
everybody's
It
already
is.
solved it.
It's very true. Yeah,
This is the
he's right.
perfect place for a guy that likes the sound of his own voice.
I can't hear me. I just can't hear anybody else. That's really it. So as long as I talk over you, Jody, then you
That's
know.
all that matters. You're pretty good at that, I've noticed.
So I did. One question did already come up that I was going to get. Just about to go off my screen. Up. It just went off my screen. Hold up. Ronald asked over on YouTube, how can I display an extension menu? The menu up here where it says extensions won't show up until you install extensions that populate that menu. So if you don't have any extensions installed, or if your extensions don't go there, then that won't show up. Some extensions, not all extensions go here, by the way. Some extension developers will put them under tools. Others will go under draw. So not
What's
everyone shows up under extensions.
I think it's even possible to make one only appear in a context menu too, right? Like you could have an extension you don't see anywhere until you right click a thing,
That sounds like it is could be a thing. Yeah, that sounds like that could be real
and
as
you got to
well.
right click the right thing.
That's that's
Chris
right.
Corey, right beneath Ronald, was wanting to know if there's a schedule for these chats of ours.
So as of now, we're doing something live at noon Mountain Time. That's now. So whatever time now is, look at your clock. Now,
Write this down.
yeah, because I don't know what time. People always go, well, "What time is it in?" Blah blah blah, and I don't know, guys. I mean, I suffer like just trying to remember what time it is in Central Time.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, Colorado, my watch tells me Colorado. Anywhere outside of that, though, I suffer. But we do it this time every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Generally speaking, our schedule looks like this. We do a Q&A on Monday where we rely on you guys' questions and we try to answer them. Kind of an interactive version of our forum. Uh, Wednesdays, we usually do what we call a model along, which is a simpler model where I can go step by step, explain what we're modeling. We've done a lot of machine parts or simple drawings that we can do together. And then Friday ends up being kind of our free model. I usually do a bigger model and we just kind of chat about a topic. So last week we talked about Star Wars and The Mandalorian and modeled the Razor's Crest from The Mandalorian. So it's usually something along those lines. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, hang out here at noon. It's anywhere from 2 to 3.5 hours, but we don't put a hard timeline on it. I'll point out, I see some questions are coming in, so hopefully Jody's paying attention because I do want to point out.
wait, what?
Great. Um, yeah, I did start.
Yeah, Oh, go ahead.
I should say I
Carry on.
started a topic over here so you guys can, if you do have specific questions or files you want to share, something like that, you can hop onto our forum, forums.sketchup.com. Pinned to the top is a SketchUp Q&A live with today's date, and this is where I will go to if you guys want to share a file or something like that. Also, one last real quick reminder, we are still doing our Finish This House challenge. We had to call it a contest, I think, but I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to just change that and call this a challenge, because it's not really a contest. It's really just, something to
It
challenge
seems like
yourself
it's a
with.
sounds like a potatoes thing. I mean, challenge, contest, they're the same, but different, but
See,
the same.
contest, I feel like that means you get a prize, you get to win something, but this is more like,
Okay.
hey, good job, you did a great job. That's awesome. So that is
Nice.
still
So
open.
this absolves you of any sort of responsibility when it comes to mailing out swag.
That's right.
Can you have a winner of a challenge, or how's that work?
Well, since we're making this all up as we go anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and say challenges can have multiple winners. How's that? Everybody can win.
Oh, good. Participation award.
That's right. You get a purple ribbon at the end.
Purple ribbon. Okay. I mean, there's some questions coming in here. Oh, wait. Do you want to finish your point about the challenge there?
Yeah, so go ahead. If you haven't already had a chance to, go ahead and download the model, customize it, make that house your own, and post it into the appropriate forum. I do want to remind you, appropriate forum, there is a different thread for entries than there is in this one with the rules. So if you go onto this one and you post, here's my entry, we're not going to even look at it. Not being rude. We just have so many coming into the main thread that that's where they have to go. So we actually just met just before this thing right here that we're on with a group of SketchUp staff and picked the 3 that we enjoyed the most. So we're going to reach out to a couple of people this week and see if anybody wants to hang out with us, chat online, and tell us about their entry this Friday. So hopefully we'll be talking to one of you this Friday, but we'll reach out probably in the next few days about that.
Sweet. So there's a handful of questions that have already popped up about plugin stuff.
Okay.
One person asking about they want to move a vertex point of a mesh for sculpting, and then shortly after, they put an at us, but I think they might be responding to them about vertex tools.
Yes.
And then Bruce wanted to know how you decide which extension you cover, and then JDC asked for a link, or wants links to the extensions that you did in your top 10 video. So all of those being extension related, beg the question: Do we have a place where we ever posted the links to all your extensions that you did in that?
It is. We actually made a forum post out of it. So
Okay.
you'll have to do a little bit of
Forum
digging.
post or blog post?
Or yes, blog post, excuse me. Yeah, we made a blog post about the top 10 extensions, or not top 10, it's just 10 extensions I really like and find myself using a lot.
Okay.
So yeah, Jody can probably find that and put a link into that. As far as editing points, so if you have a single point you want to move, you can always in the move tool just hover over a point and move it. You don't need an extension to move a single point. If it's something you're doing a lot of, like you're fine-tuning a mesh, you're moving stuff around, it's a paid extension, but Vertex Tools does just that. So what Vertex Tools is from TomTom, and what this lets you do is actually go grab individual points, you can move them around with a widget, you can rotate that. Rotating a single point isn't very exciting. Let me grab 3. You can rotate a set of them, or you can even scale them. So if you're going to do a lot of vertex editing, I can't recommend it enough. Vertex Tools is a great way to do it. The other thing that Vertex Tools is really nice for is if you're doing any kind of quad modeling. So if you're going to be softening or subdividing your geometry and you want modification tools that are going to honor your quad geometry, Vertex Tools does that. So as I'm going through here, as I'm moving these pieces around, you can see all of my sides of my square staying 4-sided. But if I look at my hidden geometry, they're broken. So it's actually actively keeping this quad geometry there and available so I could come back and subdivide it later. So yeah, check out Vertex Tools and see if that's kind of what you would like to see. I forgot
So I got to
the other
scroll
one.
it. So it was mostly just covering extensions. I posted a link to the blog post.
Cool.
And so that's definitely worth checking. Although YouTube is wondering if there's a time zone extension. And Dave Richards hitting with the hard hitting questions wants to know why Teflon sticks to the pan. I think that's really going deeper than normally. It's how does it stick to the pan, but why? It's a little more existential. I kind of
You
like
know,
that.
if I was wearing a different shirt today, I would just hold up my Because Science shirt. You guys are questioning things
Okay.
that someone somewhere understands, and that's all you got to know. The people who make
right. As long
Teflon
as-
pans know.
Yeah, why don't you ask them? Anyway. Patchworks wants to know if there were plans to improve dynamic component stability. I don't know. I mean, it's probably now this is a good time to throw out the whole warning of do we talk about plans? I mean,
Yeah.
we want to make everything more stable. That's sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's we're obviously working as much as possible to make things as stable, make the best software we possibly can. Unfortunately, Jody and I, when we started working for Trimble, signed a stack of papers about this. Actually, it was virtual, so I don't know if it's actually a stack of paper, but we agreed to not talk publicly about future plans of the publicly traded company that we work for. So unfortunately, we can't really talk about what's gonna happen. But to be totally fair, Jody and I spent a lot of time working in the world of what exists now. So a lot of times, I don't even know, like I know we have some people in here, I've seen some names go by, people who are on the beta program who do work in SketchUp as it comes out in beta, and I don't even do that. So, I mean, I guess I hit a beta, you know, like a couple weeks before a release comes out, I'll go make videos for the release. And I know Jody does the same thing because Jody works on our help center. Sorry, I was adjusting my volume as talking. He works on the help center, so that's a big piece of what he does too. And we do try to know about what's going to come out, but we don't spend a whole lot of time there. Just kind of dabble, I guess.
Okay, so here's an interesting. So I'm going to read the whole thing. I didn't pre-read it, so if all of a sudden he starts cussing or gets crazy, I apologize. Dennis on Facebook said this happens to him fairly often. He'll be moving a group or an entity in a group, and the group will shoot off in some random direction and won't retain its proper shape direction, and he can't undo it unless he redraws the group.
That sounds suspect. If you have a model that's happening to, we'd love to see it. I would say the biggest thing you should be conscious of if that's happening to you is using your arrow keys. So what can happen, there's a couple reasons that this will happen, but if I grab some geometry and I go in here to start moving it around, if I'm in the middle of nowhere, it can be hard to see what direction I'm going in. That's where arrow keys come in. Up, down, left, and right will constrain you. Left and right are red and green. Up is going to constrain you to vertical. So that'll keep you from shooting off into weird spots. The other thing that can happen is, depending on where you're at, it can be grabbing. So right now I'm moving up and down up above me, but as soon as I hover over this geometry, it's going to jump down because it's grabbing this point relative to my first point, which is below where my first point was. So I'm guessing it's something where your view is weird. So what you might want to do is zoom out. I would say don't turn on more geometry than you need as you're trying to make that move happen, and then use your arrow keys to constrain your movement. That sounds like it's probably something along those lines, because I've had that happen before where I start to move something, it jumps off, and then, just orbit around this direction, and then it's easier to move because I don't have that snap point getting in the way or something like that. I would guess it was something along those lines.
Yeah, it's curious that you can't undo it.
Yeah, that's the part that I'd like to see the model where that happens, because that sounds like an extension if that's the case. It's
worth mentioning that a lot of times if you start an operation, things go wrong. If you hit escape before you click a second time, or if that's how you're working, a lot of times that will undo the operation. Jim's wondering.
So real quick to jump back, because somebody asked how we pick which extensions we look at in our videos. And I will say, almost every one of them comes from uh, something like this, where we're in here and somebody says, hey, how do you do this? And it turns out an extension is a good one to do. Then we'll take a look at it and then we'll make a video. There's not like an official submittal process that gets a video on or an extension onto a video. Most of the time it's just something that somebody's asked about. So I end up looking at it and then doing a video for it. I do try to do videos that are complete videos that are or complete extensions that are available now. I've had some people send me beta extensions to look at, and if I have time, I'll take a look at them. But I don't try to do videos for stuff that's not complete, not available, or I personally don't find value in. So I mean, if it's some weird extension that helps you draw stars or something like that, if that's not a thing that I've had any call to do over my personal design or through all of the designing I do with you guys, then it's less likely to get looked at. So, but by all means, if you have a suggestion, tag me on the forum. I am the only Aaron on the SketchUp forum. That's
Literally,
actually my name.
literally.
My name is
It's not Aaron. It's the only Aaron.
the only Aaron. TheOnlyAaron. That's my name. So if you tag me because you have an extension you think that's worth looking at, go ahead, do that. I'll take a peek. But there's no, I mean, I won't guarantee that it'll for sure get on there, but I'll take a look at it. I'd be happy to. I love finding new extensions.
So when you're saying tag, you're not saying message you. You're saying post a regular post, and then put at the only Aaron in the post.
Yeah, I mean personally, and this is something Joey and I have talked about here before. I like to keep as much conversation on the forum as possible. So if you are one of the people who have private messaged me, said, hey, how do I do this or this or this? You've probably got the response. Post this question to the forum and we'll help you out. Not because I don't want to answer or I'm unable to, but I'm a big fan of the forum and what it is and what it does and how it helps people and it helps itself. So even with stuff like that.
I think that's part of what makes the forum so awesome is you can go ask. I mean, that's the whole purpose, right? Is for it to be a community. And rare is the occasion that you get ignored unless you are just asking something completely off topic or you're not giving much detail. Okay. Yeah. Jim asked a little while back, and so he may have already gotten this fixed. He said that sometimes when he's applying textures, SketchUp has a tendency to apply the colorize checkbox automatically. Colorize?
Colorize?
I don't know if he means that it's like he's applying colors to something or.
Well, let's go here and grab something. I'm gonna grab this one. You really like tennis balls. This is for you.
Yeah, so he has a follow-up question. Said sometimes it's been applied without his input, causing textures to have some strange color casting. So yeah, like the colors being applied to a material that is not the default color. I was curious. I've never encountered that personally.
I haven't, so what I think is happening is you saying that because I can come in here, I can double click on a texture that's in a model. I can, when it's selected here, I can come over to the color wheel, for example, and I can move these colors around to make changes, but I don't, well, I'm not sure, I don't know where the term colorize came from either, so.
I mean, it's not a checkbox to my knowledge, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little confused, Jim. So if you want to clarify what you mean by the colorized checkbox, because if I come in here to texture, so if I grab just this surface and go to texture, I have the ability to change position and projected, but I don't know of a colorized. I don't, oh, unless it's a Windows only thing?
Could be. Dave already asked him to post some stuff on the forum about it, so maybe it's something that can kind of evolve there.
Yeah, absolutely. If we can't get it here, then let's definitely take it to the forum. Okay.
Oh, I don't know what that one is. Oh, that's unrelated. So Jim Saki, I don't think that's it. Saake. How would you pronounce that?
I actually
Wanted to
worked with a
know.
coworker who had that last name. Sake.
Oh, and okay, all right. He said, "Can your presentation show the option keystrokes on screen that get pressed when you model?" So you have that on, right? Oh, but do you do it in your videos, like your other videos too? Like your more
Some of them
proper?
I do. It depends on what I'm showcasing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes, yeah, I need to do better about that. So yeah, I'm sorry if you've come across a video where I hit a shortcut key and didn't talk about it. My intention was probably I didn't want you to get wrapped up on that. I was hoping you'd pay attention to the next part, but that's probably a dumb thing for me to think. So I do try to keep it on anytime we do these live streams, and I will try to do better about making sure it is on when I do my recorded videos too. I did have there was a while there where I couldn't get it to show where the way our recording system was set up, actually right leading up until quarantine, wouldn't allow me to capture screen the keystroke record or the keystroke software I was using wouldn't show up in the setup we had at the office. So that has changed a little bit. So I will
But it
try
works
to make
fine
sure
in the
that's the case.
garage.
Yeah, because I actually changed how I record videos when I moved in here because I had to, because we don't have the same setup. But yeah, this setup should have it, and if I apologize if I put a video out that didn't show that.
So I think this came up before. Nathan on Facebook is wondering. Nathan Trick
Hey Nate.
is wanting a way to get SHX font files into layout, and I think we just use kind of operating system level, right? So
Yeah.
if your OS can see it, you can bring it in SketchUp, but otherwise, Sketch layout itself doesn't have any sort of font management or font importing ability.
Right, and I don't know this, but does layout only support true type fonts?
I think so.
So I don't
Or
know if an
maybe
SHX
true
file
type
is
and
non-true type, then that might be an issue. I
yeah.
that's about the extent of my knowledge of fonts, to be totally honest. I know that true type is a thing.
What we should do is have a Reddit AMA where we have some engineers there and we can ask them.
Hey, that brings up a good question. Segue, segue, segue. Uh, in a meeting this morning, Jody and I were kicking around the idea of doing a Reddit AMA, and figured to throw this out to you guys. Does that sound like something to be of interest to you? Would you guys be interested in hearing from not just me and you guys know where me and Jody are? That's easy. But if we got together
Easy to
some
find.
product manager, maybe development or support type people together, would that be interesting for us to do an AMA? And would you hang out with us and ask some questions? Love to hear your feedback on that one.
A little while ago, Isuro asked if you could do an example of match photo. Richard wanted to know if we could get these videos in Spanish. I'll say we're not going to probably do these videos in Spanish.
In
No
Spanish,
habla.
that would be no.
Nice. See? Well, so we could apparently since Aaron speaks Spanish, but
No.
no.
Unfortunately, it is kind of our native language, and I am, for most of our videos, that's just me making them. I get Jody to help me for these live videos, but unfortunately, we just don't have the manpower to format them into multiple languages. So I was saying kind of tongue in cheek because I know the word no means no in Spanish, but unfortunately, we don't have the ability to support multiple languages for our videos outside of what YouTube does automatically.
Okay. Well, then how about you give us a little demo? Do you happen to have a good image you can
I
use for match photo on hand?
Don't. Does anybody have? I would ask someone. Dave, I'm sure you've got something on hand. Do you have a good match photo image you could throw onto the forum for me?
Let's go over here and see if people are actually asking questions.
So Jim is saying that there is a button in here for colorize in the Windows UI.
Okay.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't. That's the first I have heard with it.
you don't ever use that
So
function.
yeah, I don't know. We'd have to. I would say that is a perfect thing to throw up on the forum because I bet if you're seeing it, Jim, you've probably seen other people with that issue too. So Dave's going to upload a match photo image, so we can take a look at that once that gets up.
Jim, I'd say start a topic, even if you can't reproduce the issue. I would ask the crowd about the colorization thing, because most of our users, even though we're using Mac, most SketchUp users are doing so on a Windows computer.
Yeah,
or a whole lot of them are. Sorry. I went to look in the forum to see if there's anything there. There's nothing yet in the forum.
Nothing yet.
Colorization. Miguel's back asking for models of stuff. I think it's worth mentioning, Miguel, that we're not really here to model one-off stuff for folks today. He wants to do a low poly Nissan Cube, which YouTube pointed out is already low poly by design.
Here, let's see if I can modify this into one. Let's get rid of this. Here we go.
Put wheels on it.
There we go. Yep. So
remember those commercials? Was it the Nissan Cube that had the hamsters,
boom,
and the toasters, and the boom? SketchUp 20. So Tiny Nest said in SketchUp 20, hovering the move tool over an object causes object to become transparent. It's causing slowdowns. So this is a new feature of SketchUp 2020. They're getting slowdowns on complex objects.
Yeah. So if I move over the back corner right there, it does. If you go to your style, let me make sure I say where this is correctly. I have to remember where this is. Here we go. If you go to your style, you go to edit and click the second button, which is the face information. You have the ability to set your transparency quality to faster or nicer. You can actually turn that off, which will help with some of the speed there. So that's worth looking at, because I know what you're talking about when you have a big scary model. It can all of a sudden like do that thing where it sticks and then jumps. But if you take a look at that, change your transparency presets, and that should help with that happening.
Julka wanted to know if you had any tips for creating a wicker basket. And while you're answering that, also Hornox can't read your shirt.
Sorry.
Hummerus, is that like?
Oh, come on,
like
man.
Made from chickpeas?
How do I kick a co-host off this thing?
Where's the any key?
Dave says he's got an image uploading for us. That's good.
Okay. Wicker basket.
Wicker basket.
You have any thoughts? I mean, there's a weaving thing. I think would be the trickiest part there, right? So
yeah,
sort of organic.
Personally, I would project a texture. I wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, I know that sounds like a cop out. I have seen some people do it where they had the internal structure, the cane or whatever, come up like this, and then model the curves that go back and forth around it, and then do a follow me, and then copy and resize each one. You could absolutely do that, but I guess if it's like a hero piece that you're trying to create that cool model, you could do it, but it's going to be super heavy, super fast. So that's the piece that I would be a little bit afraid of. So again, I didn't mean to use that as a cop out, but that would be my first thought. We could actually look at, man, that's a tough one. Here's a quick image got from Dave.
Ugh, snow. I don't want to look at snow. It's horrible, Dave.
All right. Go ahead and import that. I'm going to import it as a match photo. All right. So when you start to, oops, I bumped my 3D mouse with my elbow. I'll have to lean this way. when it imports, it's going to import. So first thing is the picture you import is probably the biggest piece of what's going to work, what's going to not work. That's why I didn't want to just go start browsing Google for an image. You do want an image like this that's you're looking at the corner. The secret to a good photo for Match Photo is these lines right here. So I'm looking at a corner. See, this is a corner of the building, and it vanishes off in both directions. What I mean by vanishes off is this bottom line kind of angles up on my screen, and this line angles down. Same thing on this side. See, both ways? They both kind of go like this off into the distance. What that's going to let me do is take my green lines like this. There we go. Make those across that line. And then this one, like this, gets a good vanish. See how my two green lines go like this? It's not, I mean, it's not a sharp thing, but you can see how they kind of go together off into the distance. That's what's important. Same thing over here on the red lines. I would say 4 out of 5 times that people get frustrated by Match Photo, it's because they're using an image that's just not suited to Match Photo. So if you're looking at the side of a building straight flat on, that's not a good solution for Match Photo. If you're looking at it that only vanishes one way, it's not a good Match Photo. So you do want this perspective view that's going to let you see that off in the edge. You also probably, here, it also probably helps to not have other stuff in there. There we go. Go back to Match Photo. Once I get that in there, that's where I can come in here now and I can say, okay, draw my line up, draw my line over, draw my line down. There we go. And I can push pull that across like that. And I can start working from there. So I know that that is the same shape as what I had here. Let me project that. Oops, I think I just painted brick on Laura's face. Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry, Laura. Wrong place, wrong time. She's camo. Oops.
I like actually looked at.
Got her urban camouflage on. Just stand still.
Yeah, it's effective.
Who's that creepy lady in front of the school? So like I said, that one of the biggest thing would probably be just keep an eye on, or just make sure you have the right photo to start with.
Yeah, I think the comment I've always seen was like you don't want to use a cropped photo. Like as soon as you crop it, I don't know. I don't understand what magic is happening with cropping that somehow.
Yeah, that's another.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
One of the things that happens a lot is people will get photos that have been photo edited. So something has happened to the photo since it was taken, where I don't know, fisheye or something has happened, and that'll cause an issue too, because that creates distortions that can't actually happen inside
bounce back from that.
In reality. I know we're struggling to recreate reality here, so that could cause an issue.
Do you know if you can draw a rectangle about center in the web version?
I want to say yes.
Okay, all right.
Was that for an answer? I want to say yes.
If you hold down the Option key, then is that right? That's not the Option key. That's the any key.
Yes. If I come in a rectangle, says Option, or I think it's Control. But all it will do is it'll just toggle real quick between the two corners. Oops, unless you hit Z instead.
No, I can't make it happen. I don't know.
Oh, it might not be in the web version yet then. That is absolutely possible.
Well, if I hit Option, it says Option equals select corner. And then I hit it, and then that says Option says select center. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just doing something wrong here. In theory, yes. Hold down or press Option to toggle between the two.
Or Control.
Daniel would like to know how to apply material over a covered door so that it's one fluid pattern across both.
All right, let's look at that.
Both.
I'm going to make a little
across two doors.
Cupboard right here. This is my cupboard. I'll select that, make it a group. And then I'm going to put a cupboard door right here. Make that a group. And then I will make a copy of that group over here. Okay, so we're going to say that these are our two cupboard doors. They're separate groups, they're separate materials right now. So if I wanted this to go seamlessly across, if I came in here and I applied a material, you know, here, I grabbed the brick off of the building. It's an odd one, but if I, it's a repeating pattern, so it doesn't work real good. Oh, I know. I could just go, here, I'm gonna come in here. Let's just say for fun, that I had something like this, and I wanted to do, oops, easy for me to say. All right.
Dave, it looks like Dave also already asked him to put an example on the forum.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a definitely good question, but let's say I had something like a photo. I wanted to actually put this texture across two things. These happen to be cupboard door analogs. So if I come in here and I put that, oh, let's go home. So if I, see when I put that on there, I get something totally different, even though it's the same texture on both. So what I can do is I can come in here and I can pick this texture from before and then apply it here. And that should continue the image across, that texture across both pieces. If you just apply it picking it from the color picker, it's going to reset the origin and any transformation you've made to that material to each material you do new. By picking the same one from before, then you're saying continue that texture onto this next piece. So that would be the solution. So if I wanted that texture to continue onto this piece in back, when I come in, again, if I pick it here and put it on here, well, that's because I just picked it, sampled the same one. Dang, I didn't get it wrong. Sometimes I can't help myself. Sometimes I get stuff right. Whereas if I was to pick from here and apply it here, that's what I should get.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you can't screw it up.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's something we should all aspire to at some point, being so good that even when we try and break things, we cannot do it.
Just can't get it wrong. Well, that's not true. You guys have been watching long enough to know that I can screw up if I really don't try hard enough.
Kai would like a dark mode version of SketchUp. That doesn't exist at this point, right? We haven't ever released
No, we've only got what you see here. I have heard that request
version
before.
Yeah, I have too, but yeah,
not yet.
It's not there yet. There's a lot of chatter about the colorized stuff, so not new questions. Let's see.
I just saw a request for a SketchUp logo. I can do that pretty quick.
All right.
While we're waiting for more, I'm just going to draw a square on the ground that is 3 foot by 3 foot. I'm going to pull that up 1 foot. Whoops, 1 foot. And then I'm going to take two sides and offset it 2 foot.
So Porn said that the box did some weaving and basket works on Sketchcation forum.
He did.
The Sub D forum, so that might be worth looking up.
There we go.
YouTube said never touch the 3D mouse while you're in Match Photo.
That's true.
You encountered that?
That's what when I first imported, I put my elbow down and bumped the 3D mouse, and that's when everything got crazy immediately. But yeah,
YouTube said, ask me how I know.
In theory. Yeah, reality, yeah, that happens. Yeah, you don't want to mess with that. Don't do it. Actually, just don't do any zooming tools, because as soon as you do any kind of zooming, or orbiting, it's just gonna shoot off into crazy town.
Dave said the cropping thing, as far as the Match Photo, cropping changes where the center is, which is, I guess, that's why it becomes problematic.
Oh, that's good to
So
know.
that's why stealing pictures from the internets can be risky too, because you have no idea if it's been cropped.
Yes, I will agree with that.
Uh, so Nathan's it looks like he's trying to make the full push in the layout. He said he's using 2018. He's trying to do more work in layout. However, layout's not user friendly when it comes to scaled drawings, and I'd love to see a scaled drawing work more like a real drafting program, real in quotes. Because it's not feeling like he's getting to work with that scale. You recently did a layout video, right?
Yeah, so we started a layout series. So every Thursday we're doing layout videos for the next couple months. So I did 2 videos so far, just an introduction one and then one on modeling or model windows. But one of the pieces that I want to do on that is scale drawing at scale. I say that because I haven't really got into it too much. I'm learning a lot about layout as I go. It's actually been something that I have always known I wanted to spend more time on is getting better at layout. So I will take a look at that, Nate, and I might reach out to you to ask what we could do to make it more like other programs to draw at scale. I would also say another thing for, as we're talking about the forums, there is a section on the forum which we call feature requests, where anybody can go in and say, could we add this? So I do recommend, if you have ideas, we'd love to hear them, but Jody and I don't work in development. We don't, actually we'll go most days without seeing developers because they keep them on a whole different floor from us. So we do try to interact with them when we
customers
can.
so the engineers don't have to.
That's right. It's actually to protect them. But the product managers, the people who are in charge of setting the roadmaps for the products, do spend a lot of time on the forums, and they spend their time in that feature request area of the forum. So I would highly recommend looking in on that and seeing what's have already been requested that you could maybe help to flesh ideas out, or even make your own ideas submittals.
A little forum tutorial is in any of the product categories. So they SketchUp, layout, 3D warehouse. There's a subcategory beneath that called feature requests. So be sure you're putting it in the appropriate feature requests location so they get found by the appropriate eyeballs.
Good
If
point.
you have a layout request, don't put it under the 3D warehouse request section.
You can. I'm just not going to get a lot for you.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't mean to tell you what to do. I'm just telling you how to do what you're doing. Kai wants to know if you ever play Qbert on the SketchUp logo, and it's funny he mentions that actually, because Tyson's video from last week where he was literally making Qbert looking drawings, I kind of wanted to play Qbert right now.
That would be fun. I remember Qbert.
I feel like the SketchUp logo is more like Crystal Castles, not Qbert. Did you ever play that?
No, but I do go.
It uses like a little ball, rolls around a little ball thing.
Oh yeah.
And you have to pick up gems and periodic, and you're a little bear, and then like the bees come along, and
no, maybe I don't remember
make
that.
sure you don't get stung by the bees. I don't know. Yeah, sorry.
All right.
It's a little tangent there.
Okay, got it out of the system. Let's get back to work.
Yeah, so it looks like there's a big back and forth with Kale was the guy that was wanting to do draw about center, and he's using SketchUp Make, and I don't know if I think it might mean he's using the old client version of Make, in which case that did not have draw around center, rectangle around center.
Yeah, I think it was 2018 that around center came out.
Yeah, that's what Dave's now said like 10 times in this thread.
Yes. Yeah, Make will not have draw about center.
Yeah. No orbiting and match photo. Oh, that's the studio confirming what YouTube already said.
Don't do it.
No good. No bueno.
Yeah, it is an important note. That's kind of how match photo works, is you're setting a camera at a specific location. So a lot of people are like, well, how do I do this? Because I can't model the other side of the house from here. You can use match photo to get the general geometry in. Once it's in there, this geometry is just SketchUp geometry. So you can do whatever you need to at this point with what's here. But the actual modeling in that specific view is set from a camera at a specific point looking directly at that model from there. So that's important.
Looks like there's a decent chunk of questions coming in about Make. I want to be clear that Make we haven't made since 2000, was that 2017?
The
Is that the
17
version,
release,
last
yeah.
version of Make? Yeah. And then after that, we moved to the web version. The intent with Make was never for it to be a professional application, which is why it doesn't have imports for DWG and DXF. It's mostly there for you to draw pictures or draw SketchUp models. And then if you want to do stuff more professional, which DWG and DXF is a more professional format, then you get that in the Pro version. Looks like they finally found the colorized version. I don't know if we've got the problem worked out though. Mike would like to know what the pink lines mean when you're moving stuff around.
Let's look at that. All right, let's take, here, I'm gonna make this into a group. I'm gonna grab this group and I'm gonna drop it on the roof.
And Dave just said, a friend suggested to him that if you added a HEPA filter to your Mandalorian helmet, you could make a fortune.
Yeah,
I
but
think he's probably right.
It's true, but there's still only one of them, and I'm not making more.
Oh. Oh, does you have to give it to other people? Sell it to other people? Yeah, that's okay.
Unless somebody wants to just pay me to put a filter in it, then that we could do. All right, so if I go to, here, I'm gonna grab all this, and I'm gonna get it all off axes. Let's get silly with this thing. All right, so if I go to move this right now, as I start moving it, I can use the keyboard arrow keys same as I normally do. We're here just constrained to green, red, blue, but I also have the ability of constraining to magenta. Magenta is parallel or perpendicular snap. So if I wanted to move this along the roof parallel to this line right here, what I can do is grab it. I can go to hover over the point I want to go parallel to, and then as I move parallel to it, it'll jump and start moving parallel to that line. Likewise, I can come perpendicular to it, and it'll give me that magenta line showing perpendicular snap. I can force that snap by hitting the down arrow key. So down arrow key will lock to parallel, down arrow key a second time will lock to perpendicular, and then down arrow a third time will turn that lock off. So magenta is actually two snaps in that it toggles between move parallel to and move perpendicular to.
Okay,
that's a good question.
Thanks. I like how in the big scheme of things, these are not pink or blue. It's cyan and magenta, puce.
Well, it's darker than pink, so that's why I use magenta.
Right.
But yeah,
it's lighter than purple. I'm not correcting you. I mean, that is just the way. It is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. Studio Article said you probably run into licensing issues if you tried to sell your helmet. But what if you sold it as like the Nandalorian helmet or something slightly one-off?
Well, if I just called it a sci-fi helmet, then I'd be safe, right?
Yeah.
Sci-fi warrior helmet.
So it looks like, okay, so we kind of answered a bunch of these questions about layout, or pointed out that we don't have necessarily good answers, and questions in the forum will be good, and also keeping an eye on the videos would be good. So I'm kind of running low on questions. Quick, ask something good. If I ignored you, it wasn't deliberate. Isuru would like to see a gabled roof modeled.
I think I just did that.
Okay. They're also curious about using Curvaloft on the worker chair, in which case I would encourage Isuru to go look for.
Hey, let me
search term for that one.
Let me throw something out here real quick. I'm gonna do wicker in like 5 minutes. Right. So here's what you could do. So if I was to come in here and do something like this, and maybe I want to take this shape and I actually want to do something more like this. All right, so say I wanted something like that, and then what I want to do is, here, I'm going to get a line, midpoint to midpoint, and midpoint to midpoint, and I'm going to take one of these lines right here, I'm going to copy it from here to here, and I'm going to draw an arc from the center point here to the center point here, that, take that arc, And I'll rotate it, make a copy of it like that. And then I'll grab both of these and I'll move it from the end of one of these vertical pieces to 2 down, and then say do that 5x. Should take it all the way through. All right, and I'll grab all that and I will weld it. I did that. Won't let me weld it. Okay, don't weld it. Fine.
Never mind.
Make that a group. And then I'll come in here. I'll grab this same shape. Copy that. Oop.
It definitely looks like this topic has come up a time or two on Sketchucation, but I can't quite find boxes.
I'm having something's going on with my keyboard. All right, let me grab this. Command C. Every time I hit Command C, it's ignoring my command. I also can't weld.
Is it one of them blue teeth keyboards?
Maybe, but it's connected to my Mac. Hold up. Probably because I haven't saved.
Because you shouldn't need to. You're not really doing anything of import.
All right.
We haven't figured out what we're doing Wednesday or Friday yet, right?
I got an idea for Wednesday, and I think I have an idea for Friday. But we always take ideas.
Okay.
So
well, Gavin's wondering if we already have what the plans are that we have already. And I just show up and look pretty, so I don't really know.
Just play to your strengths, my friend. All right. Hold up. I'm trying to address the
elephant in the room.
No, my issues. Just some of them. Don't worry. We're not getting into all of them. All right. Sometimes, you guys ever do this? You find that like, sometimes I'll come in here on like a Friday and realize I've had SketchUp open for 2 weeks straight. That never ends well.
Right. Yeah,
Copy
yeah,
this.
no, I probably try and make a point of reopening it on at least a weekly basis.
Yeah, I don't always do good at that. So, anyhow.
Gavin's asking if we can model a Lego tap, and I'm not sure what he means by a tap.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Could you clarify or post a picture of what you got, Gavin? Put it on the forum. Here, I'll even get you a link.
Okay,
maybe.
There we go.
Find it.
All right, so I'm gonna take this whole run here, do a quick follow me with that. It's gonna give me one of those. I grab that, make it into a group. I'll move it vertically so it's crosses this. All right, and then I'm going to take that option and bring it up here like that, and we'll do that like, I don't know, 9 more times. That's close. All right, and then I'll grab every other one. I will use scale to -1 to reverse it. All right, so we got a basic wicker pattern right there. I left it inside out just so you could see the different pieces. But that piece, that we could actually take all of that, make that into a group, and then you could run something like TrueBend, which I'm pretty sure I have.
Is there a reason you didn't do components for that?
Yeah, I didn't want to spend I didn't have the 3 seconds to do that, apparently.
I'm going to have to click a thing and then type a thing and then click another thing.
Against the red axes.
Bender was wondering if you could model a blanket or like a cushion pillow as well.
There we go. So I could do something like this.
Ooh, look at that. Now, if you
Oops.
make that small enough, bam, that could become the cushion pillow.
Wicker cushion, because who doesn't
Well, I
want
mean,
to?
if you zoom in close enough, that's just what fabric looks like, right?
That's true.
If you put your eye close enough.
That's going to be a rough model eventually. This is a lot of geometry to bend, so this is going to take a second or three. But you could do something along this lines and, make components and then move those into shape using something like True Bend or Flowify would be something I would probably go for Flowify more than that. But I'm not good at Flowify, so I didn't do that. But yeah, so you could do wicker, something like that, but you can already tell, I mean, this is already a lot. Let me just see how much geometry is just in this small piece.
This could be a how many jelly beans are in this jar kind of question.
Yeah, what do we got for bets? Should I wait? Should I, to the nearest 10,000?
Are you counting faces or are we counting?
Yeah, how many entities do we think this is?
Oh, geez. Oh, peaks.
It's a lot. Yeah, so if you do this, if you do want to do something like this, I would recommend doing something like a square rather than an oval. I know a square is not what it really looks like, but do a square and then soften the edges, and then do low poly arcs. Like rather than, what did I do, 12 segment arcs, do like 3 or 4 segments, and do it all real low poly, because you can see even with just this little piece, there's a lot of chunks there, a lot of geometry, and it's going to slow down SketchUp because it's just so much geometry.
All right, so we've got
billion faces.
15,000 from Andy, 544 from Kale, a billion, 21,000 from K Brooks. I'm going to say 21,001.
Oh, is that how it is? Is this Price is Right rules? The nearest to the proper number without going over is.
I feel like if I were on The Price is Right and someone did the and one, I would like jump over my thing and punch them. It's like, what are you?
Seriously, just gaming the game, man. All right, I don't know. I whatever it is, there's enough stuff here that it's actually causing SketchUp.
Well, your entity info's collapsed, so maybe it's all been there this whole time.
Yeah, I'm sure it has. Do we have any other questions while we give this one more second?
Let's see. Isuru has acknowledged you have a lot of patience, to which my response is, you're not even a doctor. Andy said that the pink color is actually cerise, which I've always heard it as magenta, but I'm open to other colors. I'm not a colorist.
Joey's no colorator.
I don't see colors. I only see black and white.
Oh,
is that?
Wait, no, those are colors, dude.
Dang it! I see nothing. Everything's just a wash, static.
Right.
There's not really. I'm scrolling. There was a question of how do you change the loading logo, and why is it showing not responding from Sid? But you don't change the logo because the logo is the product, and so that's not going to change. It's sort of like free advertising. As far as not responding, I would say probably because
that sounds like
software is crashing.
SketchUp for web, maybe.
That is not a feature.
I'm guessing if you're all right, ready? 43,688 entities, folks.
43,000. Let's see who's closest to that without going over. Oh, Andy is close. He adjusted to 49.5.
JDC was well. Oh no, sorry, decimal point, or the comma's in the wrong spot there.
What is this? What is this? Amateur hour?
Well, it's math. It sucks.
Okay. I think D-Hammer with 30,000 would be the
I guess so. Yeah.
closest without going over. All right.
Nice
Oh,
work.
and don't forget to spay and neuter your pets.
I need a
Okay, so we made it through that.
I need one of these microphones.
Oh yeah. The pinky
Oh,
out.
the pinky. Got me.
The
Just got me.
pinky. So who has a question? Anybody?
Yeah. What's up?
Nobody
What
even
do we?
acknowledged the Reddit AMA thing. Has anybody ever heard of Reddit? Or has anyone ever done an AMA
Our
or
forum
attended an
is
AMA?
so good that nobody goes
They're
to
like,
Reddit
why leave?
anymore.
Well, yeah, there's not much we can do here. Pruth Farage said his SketchUp file won't import to Lumion. File size is 70 meg, but you need to go check out the Lumion live stream maybe for that one.
Yeah, head over to Lumion and ask those guys about it. You can try. You can reach out on our forum if you want, but I know we have a handful of Lumion users there. But if you really want help doing that, then that's definitely something you want to reach out to Lumion for. You know, we've had a couple requests to model a 3D mouse. Never gone for that one yet. Maybe.
Well, so, and we did have Gyrus chimed in with a make a curved ramp. I don't know if he was baiting you, because seems like that's come up every week at the Q&A.
2 or 3 times.
A time or two.
Yeah.
Dave said to reset the axes. Did you change them? Did you move them?
No, I moved this. I rotated this, so it's gonna. If I go into here, it's gonna be a mess because I broke things. I broke them good.
Have you heard anything about the 3D Basecamp? Any news?
Still nothing official. So I wanna say something as much as everyone wants to hear something.
Okay. Well, dang it. Okay, so Julka asked to look through the comments about Colorize, and I'll be honest, I've been sort of skimming past because there's a lot of them, and I didn't think there was a continued discussion there. So, is there currently an outstanding question about Colorize beyond the picture posted on the forum and the acknowledgement that it is a feature in SketchUp for Windows?
A couple people said what it was and that you can click it off.
Jolka said for Colorize, it only happens when you add new materials and then it changes color to sepia or different tones. And take the Colorize option and it will work. And it's a problem they were having last week, but I don't see. I don't know if that's a bug or if there's something to fix there. There's not. As stated early on, neither of us are really familiar with issues with Colorize, so probably if you're having an issue with Colorize, go and look for the issue that was created by someone that has it, someone else has had the issue, or post a forum post about it, so people will talk about it. Developers will see it. How to make a spiral conveyor and make it dynamically adjustable. That sounds a little too big for this show.
So making, I don't know what any of those things that you just said are, but
SketchUp. So it's SketchUp and okay.
No, I will say that spiral stuff is difficult, especially trying to make it dynamic, because as soon as you move up a spiral, you're not just moving an array, you're moving around and you're moving vertical. So just doing things like spiral stairs, a lot of times it's not just a question of, like an array, move this step this direction and do it 10 times, gets you 10 steps. Doing spiral stairs, you have to move up and move over, up over each one. So there is, I believe, is it Move Copy? There's an extension that makes that easier, where you can actually take something and copy it and say, copy it relative from here to here multiple times, and it will do that. But I don't know, like, specifically what a thing that, I forgot what the thing was called.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fine. I guess that's fine. Sid's wondering why Layout and SketchUp are not combined together like Revit into one application.
The issue, and I don't know, I might be talking junk at this point, but what I had heard was it was for development and performance reasons. that as two separate pieces, two different code bases. We could have different groups working on the two at the same time. And performance-wise, you don't have to have both of them loaded all the time. It's funny that people say, why isn't it like Revit? And there's not actually a whole lot performance-wise or the way that Revit runs as a program that people seem to want to have. So I would say one of the reasons that it's not one program is because we don't want it to run like Revit. So I think that's probably part of it.
So Fat Kid 73 said, when creating a model and putting in geolocation, north is often off a couple of degrees. Would you unlock and move the site or reset your axis? What would you, or axes, whatever. You can use either word.
For a couple of degrees?
There's north and there's true north.
Right.
I've definitely run into.
Yeah. I guess if you're past the point where you're worrying about what's on the map, then just unlocking it and rotating it from the axes would probably work. The reason I say that rather than, because I mean, if I take all of this and here, let's get a ground on here. Okay, so if I was to take everything and then, go here and rotate it 2 degrees, now I've moved my model. The problem with the axes is anytime I come in here, right click and hit reset, it's going to go back to where it was. So temporarily moving it and then doing anything that resets it is going to put it back. So I would probably say rotate your model relative to the axes and leave the axes where it is. That would be my initial thought.
Yeah, I said magnetic north, but Dave shouted out solar north, and I forgot that. So there used to be the solar north functionality in SketchUp. It's moved out as an extension. I think you have to install separately.
It is still a separate extension, and it'll actually go on here and give you basically what is the fourth axis. So it'll give you an orange line showing what is north according to the sun and solar calculation. So that's a good tool to have turned on. That would probably be the best thing to take a look at.
There's an updated image in the forum post now with literally, okay. When he says tap? Lego tap, it's literally a tap. Okay. I mean, I thought that's the only thing I could think of, but I thought that surely that's not what he meant. So how would you model that sucker?
So I don't have the exact dimensions ahead of me or right in front of me, but what I would do would be something like this. So like I said, forgive that the dimensions won't be perfect, but this will get you, this process would be the same. So I would start, see how close that gets me, with this shape. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do a little stretching here. Pull this down a little longer. Move this vertically.
After this, you have to make Lego beer.
And then I'll take.
I was going to say you have to make a Lego die, and that way you've got a set. Andy needs a link.
Shop joke.
Let me hook up in. Shop joke.
All right, and I'll take this piece and I'll move that right back into the existing piece along the green axes till it hits like that. And that's going to give you that shape. And then this last piece, I'm going to close this real quick so I can put this in like this. I will offset that ever so slightly. Pull that out. Pull that out. Broke something. There we go. Actually, here, let me do this. I'm going to scale this down anyhow.
Did you have to model any of these for the aluminum Falcon?
This was not an issue for me, no.
Oh, all right. Because they don't wash their hands in space.
That's right.
You ever notice that? Nobody ever... oh, I guess they do sometimes.
What's
okay,
that,
so here's I'm gonna go a little geeky with a Star Wars question. So if you've ever been to Universal Studios, they've got the Harry Potter world or whatever, and you can go get butterbeer and drink that.
Mm-hmm.
What would they have at the Star Wars world? What would you be drinking there?
Blue milk.
that was going to be my question. Do you get it from one of those big,
Oh, they just have
whatever those creatures are?
things sticking out of the wall. You got to go squeeze your own out. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Ew. YouTube's wondering why I always say aluminum Falcon. Okay, so the reason I say that is there is a short by the... Wait, we worked this out. What was the name of that show?
Robot Chicken.
Robot Chicken. They did a whole series of a bunch of different Star Wars sort of little mini skits where they're all done stop motion with puppets. They're pretty funny, but there's one where the Emperor is being told that the aluminum Falcon blew up the Death Star. When the Emperor responds to Vader, he says, what the hell is an aluminum Falcon? Because he didn't understand what Vader said. And so now I just always call the Millennium Falcon the aluminum Falcon.
So
Thank you.
You're saying it's the Emperor's fault.
It's the Emperor's fault. I'm just quoting the Emperor.
All right,
it's really funny, though. I encourage everyone to go and watch Robot Chicken Star Wars. Just do a search for it.
I would do something along those lines. I don't have any of the dimensions on there, but yeah, something along those lines.
It looks pretty close to good. I mean, it's better than the one I was drawing.
Yeah, so if you scaled that then to, what is this? This would be 8 millimeters, I think, across here. That would get you to the right size. Yeah.
All right. Oh, Dave posted pictures of what he used, that match photo that you used.
Yeah.
Looks like he added some raised garden or raised beds, maybe? Is that what those are, Dave?
I like that.
Yeah, that turned out real nice. So Transom said that he said I'm all right. He didn't care what you say about me. And so I want to know, what did you say about me?
I'm sure it was positive.
Are you
praise of some sort.
Yes, well.
Undying appreciation, accolades in general.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, whatever. Mike Bogart said, how come PC, when you hit tab while drawing a box or other shape, the current dimension size disappears and doesn't happen on Mac? So I think what happens is sometimes people will hit tab because they think they need to go into the dimensions box in the corner.
Yeah, tab actually does move through your UI. And it does happen on Mac too, because watch this, if I hit tab twice, it does stuff.
It goes away. Yeah, so you don't have to hit tab is really the secret there.
I would say that the way to avoid that problem is by not hitting tab at all.
Yeah, Nathan's still looking for the SHX thing. I'm gonna go see if I can find anything about that too.
I mean, I would guess I would just throw out the question. And again, I don't know, but like I said, I've always heard that you have to use TTF files or OTF files is what SketchUp supports. So even if they're showing up on your system, I don't know that Layout has the capability of displaying them if they're not OTF or TTF.
Just doing a search for SHX, it looks like it gets referenced back to AutoCAD a lot. So it must be, obviously it's a CAD font, but maybe it's an Autodesk proprietary format.
If that's the case,
whenever I go look it up.
Yeah, there's odds are against us being able to do anything with it, huh?
Yeah, fileinfo.com actually says SHX was created by Autodesk. So I think that's where the problem is going to lie. But it's worth looking on the forum to see if there's another option.
Yeah.
If there's a way to convert an SHX to a TTF or something like that.
Yeah, that would be. Or A lot of times there will be knockoff. Not that I support knockoffs, but you might be able to find a font that is similar to it that is in a true type format or OTF.
Yeah.
So,
Looks like Alejandro is visiting us. Hi, Alejandro.
hey,
I guess he's not
Alejandro.
modeling in
Does that
step
mean
on his channel today.
did you model something today, Alejandro?
Spurs man Matt asked if we've encountered instances where creating a group from a slice can make geometry in the slice non-coplanar. I haven't seen anything like that.
I've never seen that happen. If you have an example of that, please put it on the forum because that's definitely something that shouldn't happen.
No reason for it to happen.
Sections are flat and they are a single plane, so making that group should.
Alejandro said it's some kind of holiday today.
Hey, Jerry and I had that last Monday. It's a holiday. Meh.
I like holidays. Holidays are the best. Yeah, I think we need the converter. And it looks like I'm out of questions again.
So I see Sid on YouTube's asking about creating a perfect circle. SketchUp doesn't create arcs. It does create segments. But that's not quite as straightforward as that because the data for the actual arc or circle is still stored in the SketchUp model. So if I come in here to draw a circle, and I think I know what you're talking about. So right here, I come in and I draw this circle. Well, here, let me do that again. Let me draw it at a specific size.
So Colin answered right after, like immediately after too, and he was so your answer might be the same as Colin's.
Right.
Let's see.
So when I create this circle, it has a number of segments here. So it has a specific radius. So this is a circle with a 9-foot radius, and it is drawn with 24 segments. So the actual circle that it knows about has an arc from this point to this point, but it's basically rounded down to 24 segments. So I think what you're talking about is coming in here and saying, okay, what if I put in 240? And now it looks more like a circle. No matter how many sides you put in there, you can put 999 sides on there, but if you zoom in far enough, don't do that, you can still see it's made up of a series of straight lines. So there is nothing you can do inside of SketchUp to do that. That is how SketchUp functions, and that is part of the reason. It's not a NURBS modeler, it's not a curve modeler, it is a face modeler, so it does, or polygon modeler, surface modeler. It creates a series of flat surfaces. So having said that, the question that I always go back to is, what are you looking for? It depends on what you're trying to get out of the model to say how many sides you should have on there. If all you want is something that looks good, then it's just a perspective issue. So zoomed in like this, I can see the sides, but if this circle is going to sit at my model at that length, then 24 is fine. If I need this to be like a clock face and to be nice and big, then I might come in here and say, okay, make this 88 sides. I don't know, something like that. Oops, didn't grab.
So there's probably some sort of like ratio of zoom out to squinty eyes. Like how much do you squint your eyes at what zoom level?
Yeah,
make it look like
that's we need somebody to get on that extension right now. Squint level to distance from camera. But in actuality,
calibration at the beginning. And
in all actuality, it depends on what you're doing with it. If it's staying visually, then that's one question. If you're exporting it, if this is going to a 3D print, how big is that print? So how many faces do you need? If you're exporting it to something like a DXF file, then you can actually export it as true curves and a full circle. So those are all things to consider. So it's not unfortunately quite as simple as how do I make a perfect circle in SketchUp. The circles are all perfect. It's just how do you represent that to the level of detail that you need. Is that pretty much what Colin said in his sentence?
No, Colin was basically saying when you go out to DWG,
sorry,
if you're taken to a CNC machine, the data is there that treats it like a circle. So elsewhere, you can take it out and it'll become a circle again. Okay, so Kai, I saw this one and then I forgot to ask it, and then I forgot that I didn't even remember to ask it. He's looking for a method to quickly paint or arrange rivets, bolts, or screws on a model. And I'm presuming he means more than just an array, like a linear array, but It would be curious to see. I mean, it
Yeah,
seems
I
like
mean,
doing any kind of arrangement is all about arrays. He's saying painting, so I'm wondering he's got a slightly different plan with that.
right. I would assume if you're putting rivets, bolts, or screws on a model, you don't want them random, because when you talk about painting geometry, what I start thinking of is something like scatter or drop component or something like that, which will let you put your geometry in and just kind of spit it onto whatever you have. If you're doing something more like uh, bolts or something like that, then you probably want to be a little bit more.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. It's like along aircraft panels or along like rivets along
Oh yeah.
a wing or something like that. So yeah, that
Yes.
would be.
So what I would recommend, if let's do a rivet. Let's talk about a rivet real
So
quick.
Eric on YouTube suggested component along path.
That would work. Um, I have a slightly different idea that I want to show because I think it's a good idea. How's that?
Well, you do you.
So yeah, so one thing is going to be I would recommend like Eric's saying. So I'm going to say this whole panel is I want to put like a certain distance in from all the edges. I want to put a rivet on here. So what I would suggest first off, I'm going to re-weld those. Is getting the first thing is going to be to get some reference geometry. So if I take this arc and I move it, I'll move it a foot in, and then I'll grab this one and I'll move it a foot in, and then I'll grab this line and I'm going to move it up the arc a foot. Oops. So I do this thing, and let me. I use, you guys know, I have this Logitech mouse, and one of the reasons I really like it is I have gestures on here. And one of my gestures is if I hold down the thumb and I push up, it goes into move. So what I'll find myself doing, I'm doing a lot of editing, is pushing, pushing, pushing. All of a sudden my mouse is like up here on these cables and off the screen because I'm just moving my mouse slowly up.
You need a bigger desk.
Apparently so. And a bigger overhead camera because I need a bigger, wider shot so I can keep moving.
And longer arms.
Or I need a spring that just pulls my elbow back this way every once in a while. These are obviously the only solutions. All right,
that seems like the most logical.
It does. All right, so what I want to do is I want to put a rivet here and then maybe, I don't know, just along here. And this is where something like copy along path is a great extension because it'll say how frequently along this path do you want to put the thing in. But the thing you put in is very important too. So if I was to model something like, I'm going to do a low poly, we'll do like an 8-sided circle right here. I'm going to do one this way, and then I'm going to do one this way, and I'm going to grab this one and say, follow me with this one, and get a little sphere. So this is going to be my low poly rivet. So I'm going to grab that. I'll reverse the face real quick. And I'm going to make it into a component. When I make it into a component, there's two things I want to do. So I'm going to call it my rivet. And I'm going to set the component axes. Now this is the important part because I want to set the component axes in the middle of this thing. So if I come across from here and I come across from here inside, that's going to let me set, I got to rotate just slightly. I might have to come draw some geometry. There we go. So that's the point that it will place it by. So when I do that, now what I can do, get rid of X-ray. When I come over here and I actually place this component, why do I have so many? Oh, because I'm not in my model. When I place
There's
this
so
now,
many components on a 3D warehouse.
I can actually just, whether it's place along along path, or if I pick points to drop it on, it's going to drop it by that middle point. So that's one option with a rivet where I want a rounded head popping up. If I'm doing something that's more specific, like let's do a hex head screw real quick. So I realize just how big these things all are, by the way. With something like this, I could take this and grab this and make it a component. But I'll do two things. One is I will set my component axes to the middle of the head again, so right here at the bottom. But I'll also turn gluing on. So what happens now is when I grab this and bring it in, look what it does. It follows that arc. So as I put that one in, it's going to follow these shapes that I dropped that geometry onto. So these are just a couple of thoughts as you go in and put those pieces onto your model. The reason I didn't do glue 2 with the sphere is because the sphere, as it hits, if I cut it off flat, it would always be sticking up as it hit something. I wouldn't hit on that flat geometry, so I just had half the sphere always underneath. If you wanted to, you could come back, explode them, and then merge the geometry, or I'm sorry, intersect the geometry. But those are a couple of thoughts. The other one, like I said, is to copy along path. So if I grab, well here, let's do a simple array. If I grab this one and say move a copy, modifier key, whoops, to copy it all the way down to the end, and then I say divide by 12, it's going to put 12 copies across there. That's super easy with a straight line like that. If you have something bigger, let's go break this. I can use something like it's on the power bar. I think if I select these, and this, and then I say copy along path. Is that the right button? No, this is copy along
any
path.
key.
Nope, that's not. That's guide points. Oh, they're so small.
Okay, so JHS is a compilation of other people's extensions, right?
Right.
What if you already have some of the extensions installed that are included in that? I'm presuming you probably did. Did you run into any issues when you installed it?
No, because as far as I know, it puts it in its own. That's divide. Sorry, hold on one sec. There we go. So I put it along the path with that many copies. Distance between, I could change that to 3 foot. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't have any issues with that myself. I have heard that you have some options that I didn't even know about, but I can't find it. Somebody said there's options for the power bar, but I haven't actually.
There's probably a button, one of those tiny little buttons up there.
Yeah.
MCAT said you could use the rotation tool and copy along the arch.
That would work too. Yeah, for this, I probably would just actually grab my first one, say rotate it along. Except I broke my arcs. Yeah, you could use a rotate array just like I did a lineal array here. I could do a rotational array around that other edge. But yeah, so those are, I mean, that was kind of a explosion of thoughts about that. But I would say the thing to keep an eye on is getting the path that you want to copy and then making sure the actual pieces that you copy onto it are properly set up to save yourself some pain or discomfort.
Headache.
Yeah.
Yep. Eric also said Profile Builder. You can do quite a bit with that.
Profile Builder continuously amazes me with what you can do with it. It is really, really cool, but as you pointed out, it is a paid professional extension. It is also something you'll have to be prepared to spend some time learning. It's not a tool you just throw on there and start doing stuff. It's a big one, but it is good. I mean, especially if you do any kind of architectural work, it's a great extension.
Cool. Kai said that was useful. So good job. Fam Civil Engineer asked up above, and then he kind of dug deeper into it. He was curious about the new stuff in 2020.1. I think we talked about this last week, maybe trying to cover some of the 2020.1 stuff, but he's asking specifically about the new functionality in the scenes tabs.
Scenes?
So you know how so at this point we've broken off show hidden, so that it's show hidden objects and show hidden geometry.
Right.
And then also section planes. Okay, I found it. It's confused about the top level hidden geometry and active section plane in scene tab.
Basically, yes, I got you. Okay, now I'm caught up. We have these things right here.
Yeah.
So, so there's a change in 2021 with show hidden, because originally there was just show hidden geometry. Or no, this is 20. These are both 2020.
2020.1. Well, so 2020.0, the original, we called out there now being objects, but we didn't have a way to separate that in scenes. So in 2020.1, we added this in scenes, so you can actually have a little more granular control.
That's this right here. This is the ability to hide things. So if I'm going to take this house right now, which I made into a group, and I'm going to hide it. Same as if I had come over here into my outliner and found that group and hid it. So if I come over here and I turn on show hidden geometry, in previous versions in 19 on back, that would show my house as hidden things. But you can see here, all it does is actually show that geometry that is softened and smoothed or hidden. Separate from that is hidden objects, which is like my piece that's hidden. It is possible to have pieces that are both too. So if I come grab this and I hide it, so there I have hidden geometry, or I'm sorry, a hidden object, and I have a hidden object with hidden geometry as well. That is possible. So what this says, what scenes in here is top level hidden geometry. So at the highest level, what's visible. And the reason it says top level is because I can nest. So I can take these three pieces and I could put those into one group. And then inside that group, something's hidden or not hidden. And then inside that group, pieces are hidden and not hidden. And it turns into kind of this spider web of visibility. The only thing that's saved with the scene is the topmost geometry. So if I come in right now and I'm just going to go to, this is what the normal view looks like. Those two pieces are hidden, and I create a new scene. Go ahead and create that. Now, if I come in here and I go to my hidden, wrong one. Go to hidden objects, and I say, okay, unhide, unhide. If I go back to this scene, they're going to become hidden again. Oh, except I didn't turn it on. Hold on. Let's turn everything on. Oh, there you go.
These checkboxes are so powerful and awesome, and I'm always having to futz around with them a little bit to remember what I did or didn't. It's definitely, you got to have your head in the right space when you're using them.
Yeah. You do have to have them turned on in order for them to update that information.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense when you say it. When you say it out loud.
Yeah.
So now
it all makes sense whenever I think about it. But
if I go turn those back on and I jump to the scene, they're going to be hidden again. Like I said, it's the confusing part is that top level. So it's at the outside container. It doesn't at this point give you the option to update sub. So if I come over here, if I come in, group these together. If I look at my outliner, I can have groups inside of groups inside of groups. And unfortunately, it doesn't track all the way down for that visibility. It's just that top level. So that's what that means. Good question. That's a really good question.
Yeah. Endless Fix said he saw you have, he sees that you have draw catenary, or he's seen that you've had it before, and he has run into issues with, he or she, I'm sorry, run into issues with the percentage function, like type 105%. Have you used draw catenary enough to have encountered that?
Now,
or is it one of those that got purged?
What's that again now? What does it do? Uh, draw.
You might not have it anymore. I don't see it.
Um, is it part of JHS Power Bar?
I'm not sure.
Tell me what that is, and then I will tell you what I thought about it.
Endless Fix, elaborate, and we'll come back to you. Sid is, well, I mean, this is kind of, I guess, this is a little philosophical. He said, SketchUp's 3D modeling software. Why can't it have its own 3D rendering software? And I mean, obviously it's a design decision, but it's
answers in the question. I would say.
Oh,
you get philosophical. I would get right back at you.
Yeah, we're really good at making modeling software, and rendering is a different beast. If we put every feature that everybody wanted into SketchUp,
nobody would want it anymore.
At some point, it would start to get too bloated, and it would become too confusing to use. I mean, that's part of the benefit of layout being separate. Also, is now we don't have to spend any time thinking about paper space.
Right. Yeah, I always use the term core competency. I mean, what we know we do well is simplifying 3D drawing. And we try to make sure that everything we do when we add something new or we change something inside of SketchUp, that it's still around that core competency of modeling in 3D space. So adding something like 3D rendering is not only outside of that piece that we're focused on, it actually adds quite a bit of complexity and additional functionality to what we currently have. So, and that's kind of the simple answer, I guess. Oh, draw wire, yeah. I did use draw wire and I did show something. I didn't use the percent function. No. I think, hold on, I probably have it. It's probably just turned off. I don't think I uninstalled anything. I just turned a bunch of, or maybe I did.
Oh, Fat Kid's got it's got an easy question. So as soon as you work through this, then we'll cleanse your palette with an easy one.
I like it. Yeah, I don't have it anymore. I guess I did totally remove it.
It was not one you're using much.
No, I thought it was cool because I've had to do that before, and it's one of those drawing wire, looping from one piece to the next, using just the curve is not always that easy, especially if you're in a populated model because it tries to jump around. So it was real easy to just click, and it would just draw an arc straight down. I didn't play with that part very much though. So yeah, it looks like I don't have it anymore. I'm sorry. But oh no, here it is, wire tool.
Oh, so it's not draw wires.
Well, I think the UI on screen actually says draw wires.
Oh, calls it draw wire.
Yeah. See, it's called draw wires here. Just to keep you on your toes. All right, so if I click here, so arc length is set to 110% right now. So if I come in here and go from here to here, 50%? Not quite sure what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't look like it's, oh.
Oh.
That just made a straight line. Huh, interesting. Oh no, there's a little bit of an arc.
I already have a line tool that does that.
That's not it. Yeah, that's easy. Huh. Well, now it's just drawing straight lines.
This is great. This is a great demonstration of this extension.
I wonder if that. So, okay, so with that, I'm pulling an arc of a specific length. That's cool. Okay. Oh, this is neat. I like this now. So if I say 50 foot and I click here, I'm pulling a 50-foot wire along. I gotta go remake that video because this is so much better. And then if I do a percentage, so if I do a percentage, you can't have a percentage less than 100% because that wouldn't be long enough to loop. So you'd have to do something like 150%, which would give you.
He was saying 105% was his example. 105.
Okay.
But yeah.
So if I was come in here and say 105%, oh, I don't type percent very often. Oh, there we go. No, that looks longer than 105, doesn't it?
Well, now I don't remember what his original question was.
120%. That's pretty neat. That is, I didn't play with that enough because that's cool. I like that.
Oh, so his question was, can you make it work? And at a glance, I'm going to say yes.
Yes. All right, where's that softball you promised me? Lob
Okay,
that thing over here.
FatKid73 said, how do you automatically hide everything except for the component or group you're working in?
By pushing this button right here.
Click. That's no good. You gotta. Everybody else doesn't have that button.
That's true.
I can't find that button.
If I come in here and I double click into this, this is the normal view. Everything gets grayed out except for the thing I'm working on. Up here under View, Component Edit, you have the ability to hide the rest of the model or hide similar components. So if I say hide rest of model, that says everything that's outside of the thing I'm working on now gets hidden. This, in my opinion, should be like the default. This is what you should have just turned on normally. Every once in a while, you might have to interact with something outside of the container. That makes sense. But as you're in here editing, I think you probably 9 times out of 10 don't want to see the rest of the model. If you edit something that's a component, so this is a component, if I click on this, even if I have hide rest of model turned on, it's still going to show me all the other examples of this geometry. So if I come over here and I go to View Component Edit, that's where Hide Similar Components is. So if I turn on Hide Similar Components, it hides everything except for just the one component I'm working on. So that's it. You can assign these to shortcut keys, which like I said, if you do a lot of component work, which you probably should, it's a good way to organize your model, you can assign them to shortcut keys, but you have to remember that assigning shortcuts is context sensitive. So make sure, if I want to come in here and put a shortcut key on hide rest of model, double click to open a component or group first, and then go into preferences and shortcuts, and then you'll be able to find hide rest of model.
Yeah, it's all context based when you're adding shortcuts. I actually like to leave the rest of the model on because a lot of times I do inferencing. Like so, if say because most of the time I'm doing stuff with woodworking, so I want to be able to find the center of a different piece of wood, and so I'll infer off of that. But so having a shortcut is definitely the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I shouldn't say that. That's my personal thing. I usually leave it on, but again, I don't because I have it as a shortcut, so I have it as whatever it was last time.
So you usually turn it off, but you can easily turn it on when you want to.
Yeah.
Which works. That works well.
That's a good question.
David Onstott was wondering, he said he's having problems where whenever he makes a new surface, such as a rectangle, before he uses push-pull, he has to reverse the face, or it'll have no bottom whenever he pulls it into 3D.
You shouldn't have to. We've actually talked about this before. When you first draw a shape, if you draw a shape on the ground, the face is facing down. And this is intentional because the idea is that you're going to take that shape right off the bat and you're going to pull it up into 3D space, which would mean that bottom should stay down. So some people do come in here and they reverse their face before they pull it up. You can, but you shouldn't have to do that. If you do that and you're getting, if you do this and you're pulling this up and you're getting this for some reason, something's wrong. And I don't even know how to make that happen. I'm trying to think of why that would...
By default, when you draw a rectangle, and as soon as you do a push-pull and pull it up, and it should just automatically work. I mean, that's the design intent.
Right. It is possible
to change stuff around. Or what if you draw it on a face? Or if you're drawing it on like a rectangle on top of another rectangle? That definitely leaves an opening. So say nest a rectangle inside of that.
Right. Well, the other thing I was thinking is when you go to push pull, if you're hitting the modifier key to make a new face and you pull that up, then you might get some weirdness down here. So when you go to push pull, see if there's this little plus next to your cursor. Let's get out here. that plus says create a new face, don't push pull the existing face into a single solid. So it's possible that something like that is happening and causing weirdness. Two adjacent faces. Ah, that's it. Yeah, that'll do it. There. Yep. Yeah, so if I do this, that will cause odd stuff to happen. In that case, that's actually a spot where you want to hit Option and pull that up, and that'll create that like that. As soon as you have connecting geometry, rules change. So that is different from having a rectangle on the ground and push pulling it right away. Yeah, so in that case, yeah, you might want to grab that and reverse face. That might make it a little bit easier.
Okay, so Akbar on Facebook would like to know how to change the topography contour according to the needs of the master plan tourist area. I don't know what a master plan tourist area is.
Is that specific to a plan? The answer would probably be using Smooth or Move, probably Smooth. If I come in here, I'm going to do this super quick. Jody can actually link, we did, in our Skill Builder playlist, there's 2 videos we just did on the sandbox tools, and those go through quite a bit, how to do general editing. Whoops, these are set big. Of these things, but the short answer, like I said, is the Smooth command, because Smooth will let you go in and move geometry around. I don't understand the specific question you're having about a specific space, but one of the things you can do with Smooth is you can pre-select. So if I have a section of geometry supposed to move, you can come in here and grab a section like that, and then you can use Smooth to move that, and then adjust the fall off appropriately with the UI. So if I want to make that like 10 foot.
Are you planning to create like an actual playlist for sandbox tools?
It was just 2 videos, so I wasn't specifically planning on it.
There's nothing new coming.
Yeah, so that was, it kind of covered it all. So once, yeah. So
looks like you had a live modeling or a SketchUp live modeling terrain back in.
We did.
2018.
Yeah, that's a while ago. That's probably worth looking at. Yeah, I think Gavin, Dave gotcha. Yeah, Andy reminded that the landscape one was the bobsled, where we shot a bobsledder into low orbit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and Colin just covered FAM Civil Engineering. There's an option to swap XY coordinates when exporting OBJ files, and that's just a lot of tools that import OBJs for whatever reason orient Z this way rather than this way. So that's why. Jose says he wants to learn SketchUp, and I think that's a great idea. So I'm just going to throw this out. We do this every once in a while, but just to mention, the best way to learn SketchUp from scratch is, I would suggest starting with our campus, SketchUp campus. If you go to learn.sketchup.com, you can log in for free, and you can actually take guided tutorials from Tyson, one of our staff members. There's a thing called SketchUp Fundamentals, and it starts from the ground up. It says, I know nothing about SketchUp, help me learn SketchUp, and it walks through piece by piece, shows you how to use it. And then the way that SketchUp works is that first step is very easy. It's the same. Everybody needs to learn the basic functionality themselves to start with, but it very quickly moves from learning to push the buttons into developing your own workflow depending on what you're doing. And that's when I always recommend going to YouTube and check out our videos. There's a bunch of other people that make great videos. SketchUp Essentials and Master SketchUp are specific ones. Come watch our live streams Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Help do what you can to develop your workflow, because everybody uses SketchUp a little different depending on what they're trying to model. And that's the piece where you're going to have to reach out and get creative as far as finding how to do exactly what you need to do in SketchUp.
I'm still here.
Hi.
You're just answering all the questions. I'm scrolling back looking for any questions that come up. Looks like there's a whole bunch of discussion back and forth with Gavin and the grinder thing. So
Nice. So Andy's asking about modeling a dynamic nut and bolt, and I guess my question would be, what would you want dynamic wise out of a nut and bolt?
yeah. I guess so you can make a longer bolt. What if you had a 1 inch and you want to make it a 2 inch and you want to just extend the threads?
Yeah, I guess that could happen.
But so there's some, like, I've seen a couple of times people have asked about parametric stuff though too. So that's I suppose a valid question. Closest we have to parametric is dynamic components. What's that other one we always mention and never have the link to?
I always forget it. So
I think I wrote it down last time.
It's the guys who make SketchUp Fez.
Yeah, fluid interaction. Fluid
interactive.
Oh, easy for you to say, but it is not free. So about $100 US.
Yeah, so Andy, if you wanted to, you could theoretically make a bolt where a single revolution was a component. And then you could, based on UI, make copies of that to lengthen the bolt. So that would be possible. If you wanted to put the nut on there, you could do the same thing where you could, based on length, have it a certain number of threads up and down. It would get messy pretty quick, but it would definitely be possible. I think that what you would want to think about is, again, how are you going to use it? Because it would also get big very quick. If you're going to put a dozen bolts on something, drawing all the threads is usually not something I recommend. I would instead have a component of, my thought would be something like this: a component of a head with a washer on it, and then a component of a nut with like one revolution of a bolt on the other end, and have the dynamic part be the distance between them. And then you could actually just slap that onto the thing that's being bolted, and the important pieces would be visible, and you wouldn't have to worry about all that spiral geometry on the inside that's going to make your model heavier that you're never actually going to see. If it's something for like a hero detail where you're doing a section cut showing the thread running through something, then yeah, like I said, you could do it. It would just be a matter of repeating that geometry using copies. Similar to the videos I did on dynamic components. Look at the one that made the ladder and it showed the rungs going up. You do the same thing. You just have one revolution modeled, save that as a component, and then you just repeat it.
So it looks like there's been a handful of questions that have kind of popped up from Fam, civil engineer. But one of the first ones he was looking at was basically understanding exporting to OBJ. He's tried to, I guess he's dug in deeper, like the YZ, swap YZ coordinate. Do you have any advice, just general advice about OBJ exports? And
I haven't done a whole lot of exports with OBJ specifically. I have exported some. But I mean, the ones that I've done, I've basically used whatever the defaults are, hit export, and then import it into the other thing, and everything's worked fine. So I haven't really had to go much further. Is there specific issues you're running into, or you need to understand better, I guess, would be the question? It sounds like it might be a question for the forums too. I mean, if there's a specific thing you're trying to do, a lot of times when we get questions like that, the good thing to do there is to dig into, okay, what are you actually trying to do? Because then we can trace back how to help, because sometimes you don't know how to ask for
Yeah.
something that you don't know how to do. So,
Are you going to Illustrator? Are you going to a CNC machine?
right.
That kind of stuff.
So what's the purpose of the OBJ file? A question saying what you're trying to do on the forum will probably find somebody who has done the same thing and maybe be able to help you with that. So
Let me just say, when you post on the forum, always say what you have done and be clear about that and show that you've done something, because sometimes
yeah,
some forum members might not respond well to just a generic tell me how to do this question without really exploring
we
anything on your own.
we have an awesome forum, but there's definitely I would say that anybody in the forum is willing to teach you how to fish, but to use an old adage, but if you walk in and just say, "Hey, where's my fish?" then the
Yeah.
response won't be as good. But if you walk in and
Give me a
go,
fish.
"Yeah, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I've tried this and it didn't work. Has anybody done this before?" Our forum will be all over that and get you advice like you just can't even imagine.
Sometimes when the stars align, you'll get a nice helpful answer, even if you're just like, "Where's my fish?" But most of the time,
Right.
yeah, it's definitely good there. Um, I saw there's another. Oh, so Julka, who asked about the wicker stuff earlier, is wondering. This is this is almost as tricky as the whole onion dome question of years ago. Tips on creating decorative coral. That seems super natural, super organic, and I think probably
I would
challenging.
I hate to
Search the 3D warehouse.
I would say,
That's mine.
my actual suggestion would be use a PNG with a clear background and just make a face me component out of it.
Yeah.
Because coral,
That's sort of like adding threads to your bolts in your model.
exactly.
It's adding a bunch of complexity that's going to make the whole thing kind of bloated.
Yeah, so if it's a hero thing where it's right in the middle, I would look at Erode from Eneroth. I would go in and create a crazy shape and then just hit it with Erode a bunch of times to make it chunky. But it's not going to go in and make a series of pits like Coral has or anything like that. That level of that's like when you probably want to get into like bump mapping and that kind of stuff. And if you're just putting it in SketchUp for entourage, then I would say get a PNG with the background cut out, transparent, and make a face me component out of it.
That definitely is going to be have the least technical overhead.
Yeah.
If you've got a complicated model. Daryl is wondering how to chamfer edges manually. I'm not sure what he means by manual, but seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, if you want to just do it manual, what I would say is go in and offset the amount you want. So I'm going to offset this 10 inches. And then I can take this piece, push it up 10 inches, and that is about as manual as I could think to do it.
Yeah, that looks pretty manual.
That's
and you got
manual.
all four sides.
That's right.
Well done. Jim Saki had a good question, or is looking for a good technique for tracing over an image.
Oh,
We've done
so
that a time or two.
yeah. So what I would there's 2 tips that I will say, 3 tips. Well, let me just start giving you tips, and then maybe we'll do one more after this, and then we'll wrap it. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop on the desktop and grab. Well, I'll grab this because I have it. I'm gonna import this as an image. All right. Thing number 1, make it big. Make it bigger than you actually need it to be. Make it nice and large. Make sure that if you go into your preferences, OpenGL, use maximum texture sizes turned on. That's going to get you more detail in your drawing. If you do that, pull it in big and it's still fuzzy, take a look at the extension image splitter, because that'll go in and break your image into smaller images to get you a higher resolution. The other thing, so that'll get the best image in there for you, but when you go in and start to draw, a lot of times, so if I'm going to come in here and draw lines over these black sections, I can lose my lines in there. See how my black lines kind of, actually they're showing up really well in the, I guess it's not dark enough drawing. But if you get to the point where you're drawing over black and you're losing your lines, that's where you either want to turn on X-ray. X-ray is going to give you a paler version of the drawing, so it's going to be easier to see on top. Or go to your styles, edit, go to your edges, and change your color of your lines to something that stands out on your drawing. So if that red or maybe a yellow or a green or something like that's going to show up better, switch to a different color, because it's real easy, especially if you have a drawing that actually shows lines. It's real easy to start losing that detail in those lines. So those would be my handful of tips real quick for tracing an image. All right, we got one more?
Well, so there's different levels of complexity in some of these.
Oh boy.
Thoughts on Pixar's USD file format? Probably not much there to say. Don't make a 360-degree panorama photo in SketchUp.
I don't understand that question. SketchUp won't map images, so you can't actually have that. What you could do is use a projected surface or project manually onto the curve. That would be the way to do it.
Is there a more correct method for creating a model for 3D printing?
Always model solids. Always model large and then scale it down for output. That's gonna get you the best detail. Man, those are probably my tips there. I would also say, remember you're modeling for 3D printing, so don't go in and draw something that's the width of a piece of filament if you can't actually print it. I've seen a lot of ruined prints come out because it's trying to print things that are too small for the printer to actually print. What's Manos's question about?
He's having problems installing an RBZ file, so I'm pinging him a link to the Help Center article.
Okay,
I think
yeah,
really the best way to go.
It's not a file. You don't just open the file. You have to install it from inside of SketchUp. So that's a main issue. Tristan wants to know how to join the SketchUp team. Go to trimble.com and navigate to the careers page. We're generally always, well, not always, we're often hiring, and you can find out what's available there. Are we good?
I think we're pretty close to good. Sometimes when drawing a dimension on a surface, sometimes the line disappears when it switches to plan view. I run into that one too. Kevin on YouTube is wondering about dimensions disappearing behind the face. If you put your dimensions directly on the face.
Yeah. So dimensions inside of SketchUp aren't, okay, I made my model too big with this thing over here. Gotta get going. Dimensions inside of SketchUp really are meant to be just temporary tools. They're not meant to like live in perpetuity, I don't think. So if I do something like this, yeah, as I come around, I'm gonna lose that as I move. A dimension is a 2D artifact that SketchUp's doing its best to show in a 3D space. So it's kind of a hard situation to get perfect. But like I said, the general idea here is that these aren't supposed to always be in the model. They're just there for reference. But they exist in a 3D space, so if you do go to a spot where geometry blocks them, you can't see them. That is kind of how they work. So yeah, I'm not sure how to really, if you want to put dimensions on it, that's kind of what layout in the back end is for. That's where you'd actually take your model and flatten your model into 2D space and then put your dimensions on top of it. Dimensions in SketchUp will get covered up by geometry because that's how 3D space works. Whatever's closer to you covers up whatever's farther away from you.
Well, that's kind of how real life works.
That sounded like I wasn't intending to be like rude or anything with that.
Snarky.
Yeah, it came across snarky. I'm sorry.
So Carson said he found an extension to export cube faces for panoramic stitching, but I'm not sure what the extension was. Panoscene
Panoscene?
and cubic panout.
All right.
In which case, Colin said he went and looked and found some other stuff too. So
Rune is asking about modeling roof tiles. Use a texture. There is no way to do low poly roof tiles, even if they're just extruded squares. When you have thousands of them, it's going to add a lot of geometry. So use a texture.
I think that's kind of all of them.
I think we're good. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. That flew by. That was like 2 hours of super speedy. I don't know. Went by quick for me anyhow. You guys probably just dragging and bored as anything.
There's like, oh my God, he's talking again.
So thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. And like I said, we're going to be doing this. The plan is for the foreseeable future, for now, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Be back here same time. Not now, but we'll be back here 2 hours ago in 2 days. Noon Mountain Time, but we'll be back on Wednesday. And I think I have an idea. I want to actually make sure I have the drawings before I say it, but we'll have a model that we can all work on together. I'll get it posted Wednesday morning. That way Dave can get it fully modeled before I start. And it'll be a fun one. It'll be a good one. We'll put it all together. It'll be good. So we'll do that, and then have another live model on Friday, and something fun to talk about. So, yeah, that's all I got. So
I think that was quite a bit.
That's good. All right. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you hopefully in just a couple of days. Stay sane, stay safe, and we'll see you later.
All right. See you guys.